The latest Ukrainian versus Russian war. There is a signal of Western countries arming Ukraine. This is the first country Monday, March 7, 2022 at 7:30 minutes Indonesia time Barat. The latest Ukraine versus Russia war is about a signal from the United States giving Polandia approval to send fighter jet to Ukraine. The Ukraine versus Russia war itself has not abated since February 24, 2022. Even Russia is increasingly bombarding the territory of Ukraine so that it invites the solidarity of the Western world to help it. The Ukrainian versus Russia war is getting more and more civilian casualties that must be saved. Hundreds of civilians have died, included children. Quoted from Daily Mail, Poland's plan to send fighter jets to Ukraine has been given the green light, but the US amid warning from Russia that countries hosting Kiev military aircraft could be involved in armed conflict. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said today that the country is in the talk with Poland to set up a deal that would allow police fighter jets to be flown by pilots from the Ukrainian Air Force to combat Russian air superiority. The deal would see Ukrainian take up 28 Russian-made police MiG-29 fighter, which in the turn would be replaced by a new set of F-60 by the United States. Mr. Blinken told CBS Space the nation host Margaret Brennan it got the green light. In fact, we are talking to our Polish friends right now about what they may be able to do to meet their needs if they choose to provide this fighter jet to Ukraine. What we can do? How can we help ensure that they get something to restock the planes they hand over to Ukraine? It come a Russian Ministry of Defense today warned countries, including NATO, member Romania not to skip military aircraft, saying the could in an armed conflict. Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konashenkov said in a video briefing that several Ukrainian warplanes had been transferred to Romania and another Ukrainian neighbor he did not identify. He warned that if the warplanes struck Russian troops from the territory of those countries, it could be considered as involvement of those countries in a military conflict. Mr. Konashenkov said we know for sure that Ukrainian warplanes have flown to Romania and other neighboring countries. The use of this country infrared networks to be Ukrainian military flag with the subsequent offers against the Russian army can be considered as involvement of these countries in armed conflict. The spokesman also claimed that almost all Ukrainian warplanes had been destroyed. Early Thursday, US Army General Mark Milley visited a training center in the favored Lithuania amid the escalating crisis in Ukraine. Ukraine fears an aerial attack will soon become the tactical case by Russia after their ground offensive appears to be making much slower progress than the Kremlin anticipated. The White House is now working on the practicalities of executing the deal, including the critical question of how Ukraine can physically get hold of the planes. Weapon, quoted from Reuters, Kiev called on the West to take execution and also ask for more weapons, including Russian-made aircraft. Speaking on a trip to neighboring Moldova, Blinken said Washington was considering how it could restock aircraft for Poland if it decided to supply its warplanes to Ukrainian. Putin said he wanted a demilitarized jet, designated and natural Ukrainian, and on Saturday likened Western section to a declaration of war. The West calling Putin's reason for attacking vessels has been expanding effort to rearm Ukrainian, saving it from Stinger missile to anti-tank weapon. But Washington and its NATO alliance have rejected Ukrainians' request for a no-fly zone, saying it would escalate the conflict beyond Ukrainian borders. Ukraine continues to follow it to Poland, Romania, Slovakia, and elsewhere. The United Nations say more than 1.5 million have fled in Europe faced growing refugee crisis since World War II. Western sanctions have pushed many companies out of investing in Russia, while several Russian banks have been shut out of the global financial payment system, lowering the ruble and forcing Moscow to raise its interest rates. On Sunday, more companies announced their departure from Russia. American Express, Netflix, Insecure, and video sharing app TikTok. Speaking on NBC Meet the Press, Blinken said the United States and European partners were exploring banning Russian oil imports. The West has so far refrained from direct action on Russian energy exports after oil surged to multi-year peaks. Ukrainian military say more than 100,000 Russian troops have been killed so far, and execution plans shut down since the start of the invasion. Reuters was unable to substantiate the claim. Russia has not provided regular updates on the death toll. China gave new messages to NATO, US and Europe regarding Russian-Ukraine Sunday, 6 March 2022 at the 13:57 West Indonesian time. China pushed for the Russian-Ukraine war to be resolved through dialogue and negotiation. It also called on the United States, NATO and the European Union to aim in an equal dialogue with Russia. This was revealed after Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi spoke with US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He said the evolution of the situation in Ukraine was something China did not want to see. China support our effort conducive to the escalation and resolution of the political situation, while always and harmful steps to promote a diplomatic solution and make things worse, Wang Yi said, quoted by Reuters on Sunday, 6 March 2022. At the same time, he also said the US, NATO, and the EU should pay attention to the negative effect of NATO's continued expansion in the East on Russia's security. Russian President Vladimir Putin himself has openly admitted that he is worried about the number of Eastern European countries joining NATO. Meanwhile, U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price, citing Blinken's statement, underlining the Moscow would pay a heavy price for the war on Ukraine. It said that tech was premeditated, unwarranted, and injustified. The world is watching which country defend every basic principle of freedom, self-determination, and sovereignty. The said relation between China and Russia are actually quite good with short strategic interest to challenge the West Unfortunately, the attack on Ukraine put Beijing in a difficult position. China is also in no hurry to help Russia after the country's economy was hit by sanctions from a number of world countries. Experts say Beijing's options are also limited when it comes to dealing with Russia. Analysts say banks and companies in China fear secondary sanctions. Meanwhile, European Union Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell asked China to join in mediating peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, because diplomacy must also be carried out by China, not only Europe or the US. Diplomacy cannot be just European or American. Chinese diplomacy has a role to play here, he said.